If you're wondering what SD, PETA, and OKO's MDM with P-Blades means, then you're in the right place.
What the hell is this?
Today I'm going to go over lingo from competitive Pokemon. From Pokemon names to moves and concepts, there's a lot to go over, so whether you're a noob or a seasoned veteran, you'll probably learn something. Let's get into it. The single most common use of lingo in competitive is abbreviating Pokemon names. There are several different ways people do this. Paradox forms are the easiest to recognize since people just drop half of the name. Iron Treads and Great Tusk, just Treads and Tusk. Regional forms of Pokemon usually have the first letter of their region put in front of their name. For example, Galarian Weezing becomes Gweezing, Alolan Ninetales becomes A-Tails, etc. There's actually a lot of Pokemon that have followed this naming convention, like D-Knight, T-Tar, and the titular Pedon. Others are just part of a longer name, like Lottie, Zama, or Polt. The longest names get fully abbreviated, like the Necrozma forms. One common nickname is the Pink Blobs, which applies to all of these guys since they're all pretty bulky and happen to be pink. My personal favorites though are the ones that don't really fit into these categories, which gives them more personality in my opinion. This includes stuff like Waterpon, Zydog, and Zygod. Overall, you can abbreviate pretty much any name and people will figure it out. But under no circumstances should you ever abbreviate Chin-Pao. Just don't do it. One category of lingo that isn't always easy to identify is move names. This is because people love to call move names just by their letters. For example, Swords Dance is almost always abbreviated to SD, even in speech. This happens to be a trend for setup moves. CM, ID, and DD are all commonplace. There are of course other moves that follow this trend too, such as Earthquake and Close Combat. Other moves are known just by their first letter and the last syllable. Examples of this include T-Bolt, D-Gleam, and P-Blades. There is one move that stands out alone in name convention though, Focus Blast. Or perhaps I should say Focus Miss. This is because the purported 70% chance to hit is actually the chance that you'll miss it when it matters. Statistics be damned, we all know the reality of Focus Miss, thus the name. Now that I've covered the basics of names, I want to get to some words that are more concepts rather than just abbreviations. The first concept I'll discuss is momentum, which competitive players love to bring up. Momentum is the concept of maintaining an advantageous game state and forcing your opponent to play on the back foot. For example, let's say you have a Scissorwoods U-turn against a Brute Bonnet. Your opponent obviously doesn't want to let their Brute Bonnet get knocked out before moving, but if they switch, then the Scissor user can react to whatever they switch in after U-turning and bring in the best answer to that. This is momentum. This is also the reason that pivot moves are so powerful. They afford you the opportunity to put your opponents in a catch-22, lose the Brute Bonnet, or be in a bad position again. Momentum is a key aspect of fast-paced offensive teams and balanced teams, which is why some Pokemon are critiqued as momentum sinks. For example, Blissey is a momentum sink because it doesn't threaten to do a lot of damage or setup. Its job is to sit there and be fat and tank hits. When you bring in Blissey, your opponent can react to you without you pivoting out. Glowking, on the other hand, can come in to tank a hit and then pivot reactively with Chilly Reception while also using Regenerate to heal off the damage. As such, Glowking is a much more popular specially defensive Pokemon in OU rather than Blissey because it maintains momentum. Understanding momentum is important to effective team building and playing. Another commonly used concept in competitive Pokemon is progress. Progress is a very widely applicable term because it refers to any way of advancing the game, usually to your advantage. The most common forms of making progress are entry hazards and knockoff. Entry hazards are great at making progress because they punish switching, which is the most powerful mechanic in competitive battling. It's harder to keep up momentum if you're constantly taking spikes or stealth rocks every time you pivot and come back in. As such, entry hazards are great at making progress by racking up damage over time. Knockoff is great at making progress because it disrupts your opponents. Pretty much every Pokemon is better off with an item, so removing items from your foes makes their Pokemon less effective at their jobs. This is especially true in the age of heavy-duty boots. If you knock off heavy-duty boots, then suddenly that Pokemon has to worry about taking entry hazard damage, which can be pretty devastating for Pokemon like Moltres since they lose half their HP to Stealth Rocks. I'm not going to get in every way of making progress, since that ranges from getting KOs to simply depleting your opponent's power points. Hazards and knockoff are the most important ones to understand, which is why almost every good team has both. Okay, there's still a lot of important stuff I want to get to, so we're going to do a lightning round. Stretch your note-taking hand now, this is about to get serious. Okay, first up is OKO, which stands for one-hit knockout. Variations include 2-hit knockout, 3-hit knockout, and so on. Layers refer to spikes and toxic spikes. Usually people are talking about spikes, aka getting at a layer, meaning one spike, or layers, meaning multiple of course. Items are another thing that often get abbreviated. HDB, lefties, and lorb are the most common ones you'll see, but there's plenty of others. Another concept is making a read, which is also common in fighting games. This is distinct from maintaining momentum because while you have momentum, you can play reactively, whereas making a read requires that you play proactively. Finally, phasing is short for pseudo-hazing. Phasing refers to any moves that can reset your opponent's stats like haze, but isn't actually haze. This basically means moves that force your opponent to switch or items like the red card. Okay, pencils down. That does it for the lightning round. Okay, I could go on and on about competitive Pokemon lingo, but the point of this video isn't to be encyclopedic. Otherwise the video would be exceedingly long, and I don't want to make an hour-long video rattling off every bit of lingo one by one. Instead, I hope to have taught you the basics so you can begin to understand what the hell people are saying in places like r/Stunfisk. With the knowledge from this video, you can finally understand what SDEP down Oko's NDM with P-Blaze actually means. That covers it for this video, so I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.